Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
And today's agenda of our meeting is agriculture. For what I've known, the Australian wine industry is currently doing very well. And I would like for you guys to do research on finding the best countries for Australia to export in, improving our economy. So I'm open to any suggestions.
I'm thinking if Thailand would be a good idea.
Thailand. Research says that Thailand's GDP is not currently what we're looking for in this meeting.
How about Turkey?
Or Indonesia?
Turkey and Indonesia, from what I've known, their population values their religion practices very closely. And if we export to those countries, our market will be relatively very small.
How about Singapore?
Singapore is actually a very good option, and I've actually done research on Singapore before on its technological sector, and I will just explain to you guys. I will just start on my research on technology in Singapore. As you all may know, Singapore is a very developed country. The country itself possesses strong adoption technology, especially in the Asian region, and is also further supported with the introduction of the recent Smart Nation Initiative. The Smart Nation Initiative focuses on key aspects such as the development of business productivity, which includes our wine production as well in the agriculture sector, and this also includes any collaborations with industries associated with technological solutions. And I've also done research in the existing wine production in Australia, and the South Australian Wine Ambassadors Club, SAWAC, which is a government entity, has also been introduced in Singapore. This program helps in raising the global profile of South Australian wine in key overseas market, which includes Singapore as well. And this program showcases South Australia's wine in events and any social masterclasses, and also retail shelves overseas in Singapore's city centre. This program was launched as part of the government's wine export recovery and expansion program. This is to aid in the growth of wine exports to emerging markets. This deal overall has led to some of Australia's premium wine regions being introduced to the Singapore market, including a couple wine in Australia, as you may all see in the screen over there. For the past year, Singapore has become a trading hub for Australian wine, and in 2021, Australia actually has exported over 8.7 million litres of wine to Singapore, valued at a staggering 195 million United States dollars. Although Singapore does not have a local wine production in their country, is because due to several geographical factors and their small population as well, and the increase in recognition in Australian wine because of that program itself in the country, plus Singapore's strong foundation in technology will provide potential new opportunity industry in Singapore. So, how about we use the pastel analysis to explore further into Singapore's market?
Yeah.
Sounds great. Sounds good. Can I take political factors?
Yes, Suzanne, of course.
I'm interested in the legal part. Can I take it?
Yes, of course.
Then I can take social part.
Of course.
So I will take environment and economic two parts.
Alright. Since we all have allocated our own parts for the pastel analysis, could you guys do more research into your own parts, and we'll meet on a Zoom meeting in a week?
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
1 week later.
Hi everyone, welcome to the second meeting, and I hope your research on the pastel factors went well. And shall we start with the political factors?
Yes. Thank you, Hilmi. I'll be doing the political factor of Singapore. From my research, I found that Singapore is a parliamentary representative democratic republic whereby the president of Singapore is the head of the state and the prime minister is the head of the country. Singapore also follows the Westminster system, wherein there are three separate branches: the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature. The political relationship with Australia and Singapore so far is one of the most comprehensive and closest in the whole of Southeast Asia, and is based on long-standing Commonwealth, defense, education, political, trade, and tourism links. Australia also was the second country to recognize Singapore after it gained its independence in 1965. Australia and Singapore further elevated their relationship through a comprehensive strategic partnership, also known as CFC. Singaporean and Australian cabinet ministers meet regularly during bilateral visits or at regional and multilateral meetings. Third is Singapore-Australia Joint Ministerial Committee. Australia and Singaporean Foreign Affairs, Trade, and Defense Minister meet biennially to discuss bilateral trade, defense, and security issues. When it comes to regulation, the Port of Singapore is considered the hub of entrepot trade and a gateway to other Asian countries. And it is also the second busiest port in the world. Alcohol is one of the few imports to which an excise duty is attached in Singapore, making it an expensive commodity. Australia has a good trading relationship with Singapore, and Singapore-Australia Free Trade Agreement, SAFTA, was signed between the two countries and was entered into force on the 28th of July 2003. Economic factors will be presented by Gina.
Thank you, Susan. For economic factor, the most important feature is Singapore was one of the highest GDP per capita levels globally. According to my research in 2022, Singapore's GDP per capita is $82,807. The graph also shows been growing over the past decade. Singapore's consumer behavior, which indicate their significant purchasing power, ideal for premium product like Australian wine. Singapore's economic stability are also promotion, consumer confidence, and consistent spending. In graph 2, export are more than import every year during 2008 to 2014. It also shows Singapore highly depend on global market trend. Market demand has increased in recent years. In 2023, wine market revenue is $687.2 million. The market demand of wine is expected to continue growing over the next 5 years, annually by 4.01%. For trade balance between Australia and Singapore are also playing an important role, like Susan mentioned before, it reducing trade barriers, more cost-effective import. The most competitive advantage is Singapore is a corruption-free environment support country. The educated and motivated workers strategy. The legal and financial business framework help as well. Sarju will go and present the social part.
Thanks, Zina. Social factors. So to understand the social factors affecting Singapore, we need to understand the society of the Singapore. So the people of Singapore still tend to follow the social values because social and traditional values because the Singapore is still like in every Eastern countries. Still, the younger generation may have the tendency to follow the Western culture and values. The literacy rate in the Singapore is very high, so the people have high standards of living and are open-minded, and people have high disposable income, which are willing to spend high income on luxury goods like wine. And also there are some key beneficial social impacts of wine industry in the Singapore. So wine as a product has a very large degree of social influence over the Singaporean population due to its prominence in cultural, traditionals, and social values. Wine can be also added to many dishes to improve the taste and the overall quality. There are many Singaporean dishes like chili kebab, laksa, and satay, which goes perfectly with wine. Wine also do have some health benefits. If wine is consumed moderately on then there are chances that it will reduce the anxiety and stress levels. The suggested marketing strategy, the social centric, it can be like we have to market the wine, focusing more on the younger audience of the Singapore, and then we have to focus on the tourists coming to Singapore for their vacation, and then eventually the elder audience. And also we need to market the wine in such a way that it reflects the health benefits of the wine. And the next will be the legal part, which will be done by Karen.
Thank you, Sarju. Through research, I found that Singapore is famous for its stringent legal system and are different from the legal system in Australia. Firstly, Singapore has a regulation for wine trade that require a legal license for importing and sell alcohol products in the local market. Also, Singapore levies the excise duty on alcoholic product, which is counted by the alcohol proportionality of a product. Therefore, spirits are subject to higher tax rates than general alcoholic beverage. It is quite different from the alcohol tax in Australia. Second, Singapore has a strict law for labeling goods. The labeling of all alcohol products there must display the health warning to tell consumers the risk of excessive alcohol consumption and show a specific ingredient on the package. The aim of the strict labeling law of alcohol is to protect consumer right to transparency of product information. Besides the trade regulation of alcohol products, Singapore also regulates the hour for selling the alcohol beverage from 10:30 p.m. till 7 a.m. the next morning. The sale of alcohol beverage is prohibited in the country. Distributors should strictly comply with this regulation. Finally, as Susan mentioned above, as cooperation relationship country, Singapore and Australia signed a free trade agreement in 2003 and elevated their relationship to comprehensive strategic partnership in 2015. which brings benefit to Australia's wine export business in reducing tariffs that lower the cost of the wine exporters. These are the key legal factors that we should consider before entering into Singapore market. Let's introduce the environment factors by Gina.
Thank you, Karen. It's me again. For environmental factor, environmental sustainability trend expand in Singapore consumer behavior, and also the government are more supporting for sustainable business. In order to reduce carbon emission, many wine manufacturing implements sustainable production practice in those areas. Production, sales, end-of-life treatment, recycling, and landfills. For example, use both organic and biodynamic farming, renewable energy like wind, solar power, change the wine package vision to aluminum can. So most of the Australian wineries can better adapt the Singapore market in terms of sustainable development and environmental protection, whether it is supplying chain, manufacturing, sales, and transportation. Wineries that implement environmentally friendly practice not only in production but also in package and transportation may gain a competitive advantage in Singapore that value environmental stewardship. Thank you.
Everyone, that was a good presentation with good information as well. And I will explore further into Singapore and I will let you know during the third meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, since our last Zoom meeting last week, we had some really good points on the pastel analysis on Singapore. And I will also report our research data to the Chief Executive Officer, Xavier. And thank you.
Thank you.
Gina, why do you think Hilmi chose Singapore?
I heard Hilmi's girlfriend is from there.
What?